I thought I escaped the discourse of 2014, but it turns out I haven't. Here's the story. WoW has had some beautiful expansion zones, but I think Midnight is a step above. The art and the music are genuinely some of the best the game has ever had, and the game shows you immediately. After the intro, Blizzard drop you at the Sunwell and have you fly down to Silvermoon. You zoom past this gorgeous statue, and the city immediately wows you. But not everyone has had that experience. Some people have actually had a much better experience, and that has led to somewhat of a movement emerge within the WoW community. Basically, the tide's turning a little bit. Some players are taking their enjoyment into their own hands, and for once I don't mean that they're going off and RPing, and it even includes Dakor, one of the guys on our team. And what all these people are doing is they're reliving the old glory days and truly enjoying the world that Blizzard have built, and to do that they're limiting themselves. They're choosing not to fly. They're exploring all of Midnight on ground mounts. They're choosing the same limitations that many people love classic WoW for. And after hearing about it, and after watching some of what they've seen, I actually think they're kind of right to play this way. Obviously, it takes longer to level this way, and there's a lot of things to do in the preseason, but still, it works shockingly well. Do people actually like it? Well, the short answer is yes. This was originally punishment for Flame, but he ended up having what looks to us like a bit of an existential crisis over how much he enjoyed it. Taliesin said it's improved his enjoyment by 1,000%. Eric from our social media team highly recommends it. We're seeing it everywhere. You could say that the propaganda is extremely strong. But it's not just creators. Every post has had at least a handful of people saying they're doing it the same way and actually loving it. And while some of the WoW community are over there leveling 25 of the same class, yes, that's actually happened, here's the evidence, up to max level for the Race to World First, other people are taking their time and thoroughly enjoying this launch. I think Mr. GM maybe put this the strongest of all. He had such an eye-opening experience that he said he would not be against locking players out of flying. And if you've been where I've been, say the trenches of 2014 and the Warlords of Draenor flying discourse, you might be thinking, oh my god, it's happening again, everything's in cycles. And yeah, it is. We have flying today because many of us fought for flying. It caused serious tension for years, and the history is that TBC added flying and it designed endgame subzones around flying. Then Wrath of the Lich King let us fly before max level so that we could soar around the crazy mountains of the Storm Peaks. This was a bit of a hybrid model, but then it kind of changed, because from Mists through to Shadowlands, we had 5 expansions in a row of being fully grounded at launch. And this hit a fever pitch with Warlords of Draenor, where instead of unlocking flying at max level, they locked it behind the insanely grindy, at the time, Pathfinder achievement. And they only did that 10 months after release. It took a while. People were not happy about being grounded for so long. Now, in fairness, the world was walkable, but after we'd seen it, we kinda just wanted the convenience. And we got it, but we had to wait agonizing lengths of time. So, the community fought and fought and fought, until eventually, we got what they asked for. Blizzard swung completely in the other direction with Dragonflight, and they swung so hard it ended up being one of the biggest selling points of that expansion. So, naturally, they built a massive vertical Dragon Isles around it. It's almost impossible to play the Dragonflight expansion without your flying mount. I mean, the only land bridge to Valdrakken is literally broken. You have to fly. So these areas were designed for flying, and since then, we've all been flying. But now, a few years later, it's the 3rd expansion of Day 1 flying, and it seems some are getting tired of it, and rather fast. Getting tired of zooming from quest to quest before you're actually able to take it all in. People want to take their time, see the sights, and truly appreciate the world. And if World of Warcraft is about its world, then that certainly does make sense. You could almost say this is the WoW equivalent of putting your phone in your bag instead of your pocket. And if you look past the gameplay and the talking head dialogue, the immersive classic experience you wanted may actually still exist. So, here's what it looks like. While most of us flew into Silvermoon, zooming past that statue straight to the next quest, some saw something different. Those who stayed in the ground saw this. A group of elves held back by guards. Later, they got to see Windrunner Spire slowly creep up from behind the hill until it dominated their view. The trees on either side frame it, The lighting, the music both transition at the perfect time, and everything about the area sells that. On the way up to the spire, you encounter this painter. He's painting the memories of ghosts, and what he has to say hammers home the tone of this region. Flying around Zalaman, you see the quest zone and the towers just fine, but you miss all the connecting tissue. You miss how this place is actually connected, how a troll would walk from one settlement to another. The whole zone is actually built full of rickety wooden bridges and uncertain pathing. You can't see the roads in the map until you've explored. So instead of flying in a straight line, you stop, you check signs for directions to towns and villages. If you fall off one of those bridges, you'll have to find your way back up, just like in Stranglethorn Vale back in the day. Though with fewer rogues waiting at the bottom to cheap shot you. Then there's Harrendar. If you're in the sky, Harrendar is just another zone. It's pretty, but just another zone. On the ground, it becomes so much more. It's extremely vertical with winding paths and deep valleys. And then there's the Rift of Eln. It's a proper rift, with only one perilous path down, which makes it feel disconnected and eerie. On foot, the geography reinforces the story. Even though on a flying mount, you can still tell the den is a uterus. You're being real subtle there, Blizzard. But the real point is that doing that from the ground is different experientially. Dakor on our team realized that on the ground, he had to learn the zone to get around the place. And by flying, you miss NPC interactions. You miss sights that Blizzard's artists have carefully planned for you. You miss getting a feel for the zone. You end up rushing through it very quickly in a way that actually skips most of the hard work, or much of the hard work, that the Warcraft team has made. You can even argue that zooming around on a flying mount means you get less value out of your purchase. And perhaps, if you're wondering why some zones and stories just don't hit as good as they used to back in the day, well, when you go around the zone, you drink in the ambience, and you navigate it in a way that means you actually have to learn it, well, you spend time with all of your senses and a lot of different skills within that zone. And maybe that means that whenever things happen with characters, you're just more primed to enjoy the story. Blizzard, basically, are making an awful lot of game that most of us are just missing. None of this is an accident. Blizzard's artists still use the old playbook. They still rely on the classic wisdom within game development of how to make gorgeous vistas and tie a zone together. Windrunner Spire's transition is clearly planned, but I want to take another example from Zalaman, because much later, the final quest in Zalaman has you talk to Zul'Jan on a broken bridge. If you fly straight over to that bridge from the town, you land like this. Boom, there you go, talk to him. But on foot, this is what happens instead. You get time to notice that he is staring at a giant island. That island is called Atal Utek. It's almost certainly a patch zone that is full of dark Amani history. The Loa Altar Keeper calls it, quote, lands we no longer step foot upon. That's some extreme foreshadowing for Zul'Jan's future. And it's easily missed if you fly there and zoom out. A way to think about this, rooted in other media, could almost be to talk about cinematography. If your camera is zooming around all over the place, it's very quick and very efficient, showing you all the things you need to see, it may end up feeling a bit artless than maybe where a camera is more locked down, more moody, more purposeful, more intentional. I'm not saying this is a one-to-one example, but I do think the point applies. And if you notice, say, those things with Zul'Jan, then your long flight path back to Silvermoon will let all of that sink in. How is Zul'Jan really feeling? Is he going to respect his sister after her journey, or will it bruise his ego and drive him to something desperate? And actually, that's something else. Flight paths. They're positioned perfectly to give you stunning aerial views of the world that you miss if you stay grounded. You'll even miss them if you're flying, but are just dashing from waypoint to waypoint as the crow flies. And that raises a point. Blizzard don't need flight paths anymore, because we can fly. But they still make flight paths. It's even in the smaller details. In Eversong, you can fly up to the floating parts of Fairbreeze Village, but you never have to. Everywhere has these translocation orbs that teleport you. Over in Harrendar, there are always ground paths out of zones. Maybe it's just good world building, or maybe Midnight, at one point, didn't let you fly. Who knows? But either way, Midnight is richly crafted. It is full of detail that's extremely easy to miss. Everything points to Blizzard still making a world, then, that supports players running around and drinking it in. It's just up to you if you want to do that. So, what should Blizzard do? Nothing. I don't think they should do much. This isn't like Hardcore. Hardcore was a popular add-on that Blizzard made into a real game mode on top of their existing game. Now, I've seen a bit of talk about a restriction, basically no flying during the campaign, or maybe no flying until you hit max level, but I don't think that's a great idea. That's because player choice is here, it's working, and the point of this video is not to convince you or tell you you have to do it, or that Blizzard should change anything. It's to make you aware of it, so that you can make your choice. I think that's probably the right way to go. I think Blizzard just needs to make sure that they build zones the way they are right now, because the zones allow people to choose. If you want to level fast, you can. If you want to drink it in, you can. And this experiment proves that the classic style, slow and steady game exists. You just have to choose to play it. And honestly, I might do it on an alt myself. Watching other people do it, they're just playing a much more immersive version of WoW. They're clearly getting more out of every quest. And with this expansion having so many side quests that are so good, maybe this is a way to enjoy WoW almost as if leveling didn't exist. Because of course, all the stuff will scale, and even if you hit max level, all those side quests will be filling up your renowns, which still is progress that's good for your character. So maybe put the flying mount down and join the future of a well-paced, immersive WoW. Or don't! That's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be an argument. But before you embark on that, check out this video next. It's just a bunch of tips, tricks, and bits of knowledge that all of our team just kind of thought, really wish we knew that whenever we started leveling up properly. So check out the video next, and hope you enjoy.